20th through the 22nd. The Riggs Fiber Ultimate Super Late models battle for $3,000 to win Friday and $5,000 to win Saturday. Plus, the Marlin Memorial Factory Stocks and Woods Memorial Kids Mini Cups. With $58,200 in guaranteed total purses, this is one weekend racing fans won't want to miss. Duck River Raceway Park, Nashville's closest dirt track, just 10 minutes from Henry Horton State Park.
The weather is hot out, and the action is getting hotter at the Circa Sportsbook at the Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs. Feel the rush of every play in the largest sportsbook in Kentucky, from basketball, baseball, soccer, and more. Catch it all on an 80-foot screen, stadium-style seating. Download the Circa Sports Kentucky mobile app today and start betting like a pro anywhere in Kentucky. Don't miss a game at the largest sportsbook in Kentucky, Circa Sports at the Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Discover the all-new enhanced kitchen notes at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Savor Southern comfort with a refreshed feel, an enhanced menu, and of course, the legendary biscuit bar you love. From farm-fresh ingredients to reimagined classics, each dish celebrates Nashville's rich culinary heritage. Whether it's a leisurely breakfast or a hearty lunch, every plate feels like home. Stop by any day to experience a meal that's truly music to your taste buds. Kitchen notes at the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Dads and Sons, set aside some time for an unforgettable weekend together. Father-Son Adventure Weekend is August 21st through 23rd at Deer Run, just south of Franklin. Enjoy a weekend packed with outdoor activities, games, friendly competition, and plenty of opportunities to make memories that'll last a lifetime. It's perfect for dads and sons of all ages, and uncles, mentors, and foster dads are welcome too. Father-Son Adventure Weekend at Deer Run. Everything's planned. Just show up and enjoy the adventure together.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. If you're in the market for new windows or doors, here are a few reasons to choose Pella of Nashville. First, Pella's innovative and highly skilled installers are renowned for their attention to detail. Second, Pella offers premium quality windows and doors at affordable prices. Additionally, Pella of Nashville has been rated #1 by customers in Middle Tennessee for quality and innovation. I highly recommend choosing the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Visit PellaNashville.com for more info.
Laundry piling up? Make it easier with the latest washers and dryers from Electronic Express. We carry top brands like LG, Samsung, Speed Queen, Whirlpool, and GE. So whether you need an all-in-one unit, stocked unit, front load, or top load, we've got that. With free delivery, guaranteed lowest prices, and up to 24 months free financing, upgrading your laundry room has never been easier. Find your perfect setup in-store or online, only at Electronic Express. We've got that.
Make your Yellowstone area vacation unforgettable at the Buffalo Bills Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming. 5 family-friendly museums packed with wildlife, art, culture, and authentic Western experiences. Plan your adventure now at centerofthewest.org.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
35 years of the best sports talk in Nashville. It's the George Plaster Show with Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame quarterback Kelly Holcomb and young gun Lewis Maddox. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Welcome back in, everybody. It's a beautiful Friday in Nashville, Tennessee. Not George Plaster here. It's Lewis Maddox, and we welcome you in on this Friday edition of the George Plaster Show. I'm handling things until George gets back from vacation, which will be next Thursday when we're at Austin Peay State University. We'll be doing our show there that day prior to their opening night game. But we've got a great show for you today. George talks about this all the time on Fridays, that you think it's going to be a slow day in the sports world. That is absolutely not the case today, as we have so much to cover. Start of high school football, week 1, technically started last night, but tonight is the first big slate of high school football games. We'll hear from Tennessean sports or high school sports editor George Robinson at 3:20, and then at 4 o'clock, all the stuff that's going on in the NCAA right now, the litigation, the legal aspects of everything, players trying to come back from the NFL and go back to college. We're going to talk about all of that and more with George Barclay from the Dore Report, also an attorney, covers all of that legal stuff for us all the time, and he's going to do it again today. Fantastic at what he does. We don't have Terry McCormick in our waiting room just yet. He's trying to join the stream right now. So we're going to go ahead and do our daily sports update with Clay Tillman. Clay, what do you got for us?
Lewis, I'm glad to be back. It's day 2 of the daily sports update, or I actually gave my title, Clay's Sports Update. That's what we're calling it for the time being.
Hey, and Clay, we just got Terry, so give your first piece, and then we'll do the other side of it after Terry's update.
All right, the first piece is that the number 1 tennis player in the world, Jannik Sinner, will miss the U.S. Open because of a right knee injury, ending his hopes of competing for another title in New York. Sinner hasn't played since successfully defending his Wimbledon title earlier in July, while his rival Carlos Alcaraz is expected to return for the tournament after his own injury absence. This is disappointing for any tennis fan out there, especially me. These two went back and forth in the Wimbledon finals last year, and I was really hoping to see them go back and forth in this U.S. Open, but looks like we're not going to be able to see that. But that's the first piece of the update. Yeah,
Jannik Sinner, a great tennis player, and those two do have some fantastic matchups historically. So unfortunately, not going to be able to get that one this year, but Terry McCormick is here. We'll continue with the sports update, Clay's sports update, in just a minute. Terry McCormick, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic.
Doing good, Terry.
Terry, Titans and Seahawks first joint practice today. What happened?
Well, actually, I watched the Titans offense, and honestly, I expected to see the worst, but they were pleasantly surprising. The Titans offense held their own against the Seahawks. Cam Ward had a pretty solid day, except for one interception in a team drill that was probably going to be a pick six. But he took the short stuff underneath. He was accurate and on time with most of his throws. So it was very encouraging given what transpired against the 49ers last week. And it looked like that, certainly much more relaxed and comfortable in the pocket. And then also, the offense was able to run the football, especially in the red zone. I think they had like 4 rushing touchdowns between the 3 groups in the red zone, plus a couple of touchdown passes. Quarterbacks overall were pretty accurate. Mitch Trubisky had a nice solid day, and in limited work, Will Levis looked okay.
What about the defense, Terry? I know that's a very powerful offense that just won a Super Bowl, obviously, without Kenneth Walker now, but still a lot of good players on that side of the ball for Seattle. What did Tennessee's defense look like today?
Well, I didn't get to watch the defense. I stayed over on the field with the offense. But from all reports and all indications, the defense held their own, especially early on. They were, stopping the run by the Seahawks. And then in the 2-minute drill, Alontae Taylor was able to pick off Sam Darnold and return it for a touchdown. So some highlights there for the Titans defense, which according to most of the people who did watch that, they were very aggressive and very disciplined, especially against the run.
Terry, we've seen tons of fights out of training camp, especially this offseason. What is the intensity like in these joint practices? Is it over the top? Is that why we're getting stuff like that?
Well, I think it's over the top in some places, but this one today was really pretty much, the players mainly kept their cool. The only time that something happened on the field that I was on that of any consequence was Byron Murphy of the Seahawks grabbed Tajay Spears, kind of slung him to the ground, and Tajay got back up, shoved him. That kind of incited a little melee that went on for about 30 seconds or so, but then order was restored, and it was right back to practice. So as far as, skirmishes or anything like that, not a lot to report here. The one that did was certainly broken up fairly quickly.
Terry, what goes on between these two teams from now until Sunday night when they play at Nissan Stadium?
Well, tomorrow will be walkthroughs, meetings, things like that. And then Sunday night will be the game. So I think you'll see Robert Saleh said Titans starters. He wouldn't mind seeing them carry through to the first half of this game. So you may get to see a little bit of extended first-team Titans offense and first-team Titans defense against the Seahawks.
Gotcha. Hey, any other keynotes Stuff worth talking about?
Jake Bobo of the Seahawks suffered what apparently is a pretty serious knee injury in the practice that was over on the field where the Titans defense was. So certainly, a little bit of concern there, but the Titans seem to come out of it pretty healthy.
Terry, great stuff as always. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. We'll talk again on Monday.
All right. Sounds good. See you guys.
Thanks, Terry.
Okay. That was Terry McCormick's Daily Titans Update, award-winning as always. We've got a little more to talk about the Titans at the end of this show concerning maybe some money. But right now, we'll go back to Clay's sports update.
Yeah, at the end of this update, I do talk about all the tension happening with these joint practices. There is a lot of tension going on. And I don't know what's stemming from it. Maybe they're just ready to actually be aggressive and tackle each other. But no, there's a lot of it that we haven't seen in a while.
It's been a hot summer. Maybe it's maybe the heat is getting to everybody.
I think you're right, Lewis. But back to the update. A former Alabama basketball player, Kai Spears, was awarded $9.25 million after an Alabama jury found that the New York Times defamed him by incorrectly reporting that he was present at a scene of a fatal 2023 shooting in Tuscaloosa. The Times corrected the story days later, but Spears argued the false report caused emotional distress and permanently linked his name to a murder. The newspaper says it is reviewing his legal options after the verdict. Wow. Pretty crazy stuff.
I mean, obviously, if you're just a normal person, not a football player for the University of Alabama, that's a pretty big deal. You don't want your name tied to a murder investigation, but no, $9.25 million. I'd say that's a pretty good output for the trouble that he went through.
That's some generational money right there.
Yes, it is.
But moving on, the Lakers minority owner Patrick Soon-Shiong, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, says he has no plans to sell his 4% stake in the team amid the Buss family ownership battle, potentially making it more difficult for Jeanie Buss to retain enough ownership to remain the Lakers' acting governor. And this whole Jeanie Buss situation has kind of been out of control, her not wanting to give up the remaining stake. I think it's 17.8%, which if she keeps that, she remains as the controlling owner of the Lakers. But with the past that Jeanie Buss has done as an owner for the LA Lakers, in hiring some front office people who are very questionable in what they did for the organization, not being successful with the name they have. I mean, in my opinion, I think she should be out as any sort of stake owner for the Lakers, in my opinion.
Yeah, this whole Lakers situation, the selling of the stake in the organization has just been a complete mess because there's 6 members of the Buss family that are all siblings that have a say in what happens with this 17.8% stake that they have remaining in the Lakers franchise. And that is, I think we talked about it last week, about $3.9 billion is what that amounts to, based on the $12.5 billion valuation that the Lakers have. I'm just telling you, this just adds another piece to it, what you just talked about, Clay. But Jeanie Buss apparently is the only one out of those 6 siblings that wants to keep that 17.8% stake in the Lakers. This thing's going to get a lot more messy before it gets cleaned up, and it's going to keep snowballing. This is going to turn into a big-time court battle.
100%. It's going to be her versus the remaining of her family.
Yeah.
I mean, just family tension in general isn't good, and especially with money on the line.
That amount. I mean, we're talking about, I think it was somewhere around $370 million split up to each of those 6 siblings.
So super, super crazy stuff happening with the Lakers. But I talked about it yesterday. Jacob deGrom has reached 2,000 career strikeouts in historical fashion, becoming the second fastest pitcher ever to reach this milestone by both games and innings pitched in the Rangers' 2-0 win over Washington. And I know, Lewis, you picked them yesterday. You picked Washington to win over the Rangers.
Yeah, well, I tried to make some people, you gotta risk it a little bit to get the biscuit, and that's what I did yesterday. They were plus 150. The Nationals were against the Rangers, and that was in your update yesterday because the potential for him to go over 2,000 was there. I think he just needed 2 strikeouts, and he got 10 of them. And obviously, 10 strikeouts in a game, you're not producing much offense on the other side. So yeah, I'm 0-1 on the week. Apologize if anybody took that, but we'll try to get back on track tonight.
But you know what? At least you took a risky gamble because we
I'm
know a guy
saying,
who just wants to keep his above 20, over 500 record in his gambles, and that guy's on vacation right now.
He is. He is on vacation. Yeah.
But speaking of joint practices, the Cowboys and Saints were each fined $500,000 after multiple fights broke out during Tuesday's joint practice, with punches thrown and a helmet tossed and one player body slammed, as Dallas plans to appeal this stiff penalty. It seems like a WWE match.
No, they can appeal it all they want to. It might get reduced to 450,000 just because they do appeal it, and that's the only reason. Because we talked about this last week and pulled up that video from training camp where those fights took place. 6 individual fights broke out at 6 different times in that joint practice. And that's what I was just talking about with Terry. Like, what is happening with the intensity of these joint practices to where the tension is so high that stuff like that is happening almost every day? And in that case, 6 times in one day. Those 2 teams play tonight, and I am very excited to see if there's any more stuff that goes on within that game, because I'm sure the guys that got in that fight, probably some of them aren't going to be allowed to play. Don't know that for sure, but I assume that the tensions are still high between those 2 squads.
Yeah, and Kelly always mentions that these preseason games, he doesn't like it. I'm sure these players don't like it, and maybe some of the tension is stemmed from they're just ready to start the NFL season, and they're just not having this hot weather, and they're ready to be under the spotlight. I mean,
I could see it.
There could be multiple reasons, but I could see that being one of them. You'll probably like this one because it's college football, and ESPN's College Game Day is headed to Ole Miss for the Week 3 matchup against LSU on September 19th.
What a shock.
Absolutely, what a shock. But marking just the show's 3rd ever trip to Oxford and adding extra drama because LSU head coach Lane Kiffin will be heading back to Ole Miss for the first time since leaving Oxford.
We talked to, during SEC Media Days, Matt Moscona, who covers LSU athletics and is an ESPN radio guy himself. And I thought that was really interesting because I asked him, where do you think that Lane Kiffin will feel the most unwelcome this season? Because he goes to Oxford, he goes to Knoxville, the 2 places that hate him the absolute most. He obviously said it's going to be Ole Miss, and I think the same thing because obviously there's been 17 years since Lane Kiffin left in the middle of the night to go to USC from Tennessee after 1 season. But this thing with Ole Miss, that's an open wound. And when he goes back there, and Moscona said this too, he said the most vitriol, that's the word he used, vitriol he's ever seen a crowd was when Nick Saban went back to LSU after becoming the head coach of Alabama. And he said this one's going to be worse. And I think that I'm going to agree with him because, dude, LSU and Ole Miss, they don't like each other already. They've never liked each other.
Yeah.
This almost triples that hate.
I mean, absolutely. And with Lane Kiffin kind of being a face on social media and him not afraid to talk and being bold, I mean, the security that will have to be on its toes during this game because I guarantee things will be thrown, beer cans, golf ball. I mean, anything on the shelves they will probably have in their arsenal and ready to throw at Lane Kiffin. So it's going to be a very cautious approach. And I mean, I believe the security will be high.
Lane might need to be suited up on the sideline.
Oh,
full pads, helmet to protect himself
in a full suit of armor. I agree. But some future news. This is super cool. I'm looking forward to this, but more than 200 NFL players from over 25 countries have expressed interest in representing their own countries in flag football at the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. NFL players were officially cleared to participate in the games, setting up the possibility of some football's biggest stars competing for an Olympic gold medal. I mean, this could be one of the biggest sports in the 2028 Olympics. I'd watch it, and I feel like a lot of Americans and other people in other countries would enjoy this sport as well.
Let me tell you something. This flag football stuff is getting bigger and bigger every year, and now the NFL is on board with it, and they have a whole NFL flag league for younger boys and girls to play flag football, and they even broadcasted the playoffs or the championship a couple of weeks ago. The Pat McAfee show was there. Like, this thing's taking off, and yeah, this is going to be special to watch. I'm excited for it. There is some it's a very different game, the NFL, from flag football. It's different. It's like 7-on-7, and that's not what those guys are trained to do in the flag football league, whatever that's called. Those dudes say that they're better than the NFL players at flag football, which they've kind of got a point to, because NFL players don't play flag football. But still pretty cool that some of them are going to get the opportunity to play in that. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and they get to actually compete for something. I know the Pro Bowl is very looked down at when, I mean, the way they play the Pro Bowl is flag football, but they're not competing for anything, so nobody's trying. So if you're competing for a gold medal, hey, it may be more entertaining than we think.
Yep.
But Raiders coach Clint Kubiak still isn't naming a starting quarterback despite sitting Kirk Cousins and giving rookie Fernando Mendoza the start against Houston. But Mendoza didn't have the best game, had a pick six, finished 8 of 15 for 86 yards in Las Vegas, but they end up winning 22-20 in their preseason win last night.
He threw an 80-yard pick six, which was not good, and his passer rating was like 42.6, not even 46. It's 42.6. Here's the thing. I don't know why Kubiak has waited this long to name a starter. It's going to be Cousins to start out.
I believe so.
From what I saw last night from Fernando, he's got it, and he will get it. I'm confident in that, but he doesn't have it yet. And if you want to keep on building that guy up in his rookie season, you let him sit behind Kirk Cousins and watch for maybe, if they end up 2-4 after 6 weeks, then you start to think about, okay, let's start looking towards the future. Fernando can get a start here mid-season. He takes us the rest of the way out. That's how I would play it. Don't know if they'll do that, but in my opinion, it's going to be Kirk Cousins when things go wrong for the Raiders, because I do think at some point the Raiders will face a lot of controversy because that roster is still not very great.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching Raiders preseason games, and Mendoza has made some great passes.
Yeah.
Can thread the needle anywhere, but I agree. I think Kirk Cousins will start the season, maybe half of the season, and if there's a glaring indication that Kirk can't be a starting quarterback, then throw Mendoza in there, because I think he will be legit, and I think he'll be good in this league.
He's a future.
Absolutely. The Dallas Mavericks reach a buyout agreement with Klay Thompson to make him an unrestricted free agent, but the rumors are once he clears waivers, the Miami Heat will sign him. And with a team who traded a lot for Giannis, they have a lack in their depth. I think bringing a guy like Klay Thompson, who has championship blood in his veins, I think he brings a huge amount of value to a Miami Heat team who do lack in value and can make them an interesting contender in the East.
Yeah, Giannis still obviously the main piece of that puzzle there in South Beach, but Klay Thompson getting there, you immediately, obviously he's on the downside of his career, but the dude can still shoot. I mean, he's one of the Splash Brothers, man. So
exactly.
You add a piece there that you can plug and play and pick up some danger from the perimeter for your team. I like it.
Yeah. Me too. Last piece of update. Number 12 Baylor School opened its season with a 38-20 win over Brentwood Academy on ESPN2, led by Tennessee commit DGG, which we've talked about a lot. He had a dominant rushing performance last night, while freshman quarterback Marshall Manning, son of Peyton Manning, completed his first varsity pass in his high school debut. Here's the
Jet quarterback. Yes, that's right. There is a Manning. at quarterback for Baylor.
Played in the Buford game in the scrimmage, but this is the first real snap of Marshall Manning's high school career. Going to roll to his right. They're going to let him throw it out wide. It's a beautiful throw to the sideline. Caught just short of a first down by Antoine Cornbread Adams. How about that fresh off the bench?
Well, you saw him warming up there before this drive, and then no problem. They roll him out, extend the pocket, throws the ball, nearly batted down there by Jack Berry, 14. But again, on the move, delivers the strike. Nearly a first down pickup.
Hey, man, Marshall doesn't look half bad.
He doesn't. I think that guy has a future.
I do too.
But that's the end of the update.
Going to be interesting. He's sharing, obviously he's not the starter there. He's still a young guy, but
yeah.
Going to be interesting to see maybe if the DGG commitment and them sharing a backfield right there will maybe influence his decision down the line to follow in the footsteps of his dad. Who knows?
And when George Robinson comes on, I would love to talk to him about what Baylor looks like this season with a dominant rusher like DGG and what the future of Marshall Manning could look like for this Baylor team.
I love it. And we're going to talk to George Robinson, the high school sports editor for the Tennessean, when we return at 3:20, or it's actually past 3:20 now. So we're still waiting on George, but we'll take our first time out. More on the other side in hour number 1 right here on the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
At Wilson Bank and Trust, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between personal service and digital solutions. As your local independent bank, we're proud to offer the relationships and trusted service you expect, along with the tools and technology that keep you moving forward. So whether you're growing a business, buying a home, or planning for the future, we're here to help. Because this isn't just where we work, it's where we live too. Wilson Bank and Trust, here to get you there. Member FDIC.
Are you tired of living with back pain? What would you do if the pain was gone?
At the Dr. Gill Center, we've helped thousands of people over the last 30 years break free from pain and get back to living life. We're committed to your outcomes, and our caring team listens, understands, and offers real solutions to neuropathy, back pain, and joint pain without unnecessary surgery or medication. Choose the clinic that listens. Choose the clinic that cares. Call the Dr. Gill Center today at 615-882-4838.
Let's make your pain-free life a reality.
This is a Game Nashville Sports Network weather update.
Here is our weather in Middle Tennessee. Patchy fog is possible tonight, mainly after midnight, otherwise clear with a low near 68. Saturday starts with fog before clearing to sunshine and a high near 93, though it may feel like 98. Saturday night stays mostly clear with a low around 67. Sunday brings sunny skies and a high near 90 from the Game Nashville Sports Network. I'm Waylon Smithers.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Your two total screw-ups of humongous proportions.
Sports. We're not living in an era where perfection is necessary.
They thought they were a championship contending team.
Here, we told you not to do this.
Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Segment number 2 of hour number 1 here on the George Plaster Show. It's a hot Friday, but it is the start, technically, yesterday, But to me, tonight is the start of high school football season officially. Couldn't be more excited about that. Also couldn't be more excited to have the high school sports editor from the Tennessean on with us today, George Robinson. George, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Doing absolutely fantastic. Hey, how excited are you that it is finally here? The biggest high school sporting sport that we can cover here in the state of Tennessee is here.
Yeah, I mean, football kind of rules the roost, so to speak. Yeah, I'm really excited. We've been kind of preparing, for this moment ever since probably spring fling ended in May, in Murfreesboro, just kind of was starting to put the pieces together for the upcoming high school football season in June. Of course, Tennessean.com, we put out a lot of content, during the summer months to try to get people ready. We had our Dandy Dozen, unveiled that, unveiled each, stories for each one of those players, all 12 of those players. We've been running, our top rankings by position, in the Nashville area. And then, over here the past week and a half, we've released our, our top 75 seniors, 50 juniors, 25 sophomores, and 10 freshmen all around the state. So we've kind of been diligently, putting the pieces together to get ready for this point. And here we are. So, yeah, I'm as excited as anybody.
And it seems like there's a lot of excitement from outside of the teams or the media members or you yourself as well. Have you felt that too? Just like the excitement in the air? I don't know what it is for me about this season, but it just seems like I can smell football in the air, and it feels like I have been for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, during the summer months, it's traditionally just sort of like a down period where everybody can kind of relax. They're on vacation. But usually around this time in August, particularly once school starts, people kind of are tired of, okay, we've done the relaxing thing. Now, let's get back to football. You got training camp opening up with the NFL. So you got the Titans, doing their training camps and having joint practices. You got college football, on the horizon as well. So it's only natural that people are kind of revved up for football season. And, I think that's a yearly thing. I think that's an annual thing. Once you get into August, everybody starts to really ramp up and get ready for the football season. And I think that's sort of the excitement that you kind of feel in the air.
Yeah, and when everybody wants information on this great sport that we cover, in Tennessee, you go to the Tennessean to read anything about high school football in Tennessee. Take us through the operation that you run, the preparation that it takes for your team to get ready for night one of high school football, and then talk about what your role in all that looks like, and especially today, what does today look like for you? So I'm sure it's busy.
Oh my gosh, yes. So, in terms of our staff, I mean, we like I said, we've been getting prepared for this, weeks in advance. We kind of plan out stories that we want to run, when we want to run those stories, specifically what content we want to provide. We do a lot of predictions. We do state championship, like preseason state championship predictions. We predict, we have rankings that come out. We predict the region order of finish among all the regions in Middle Tennessee and the Nashville area. And then, one of the big things that we do, we have a high school football media day that the Tennessee Titans sponsor. We hold that in July, and a lot of our reporters, all of our high school reporters from around the region, and I'm talking, Nashville, Clarksville, Murfreesboro, and Columbia, we all kind of descend on Nissan Stadium, and, usually over 60, 65 high schools show up. And they, the coaches bring, 2 or 3 players. We do photos, we do, video. It's an opportunity for our reporters to talk with coaches, get stories that they'll, that will, eventually do throughout the course of the next few weeks after the media day is over with. And so that's some of those stories that we've been running, over the past 3 to 4 weeks. Are a lot of those stories were gathered during that media day. So there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. Of course, tonight, I'll be at headquarters at the Tennessean. We'll have reporters out at the Pro Cone game against the NBA. We'll have somebody out at the Ravenwood game. They play Madison Ridgeland out of Mississippi, very good private school out of Mississippi. We'll have a reporter out there at that game. We'll have photographers out there. We'll be posting video on Instagram and on X, on the X site. So it's, like I said, a lot of preparation goes into it. And then, once Friday gets here, it's all about just executing the plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously a lot more preparation time for week 1 than week 2 and the rest of the season. How did you keep that same intensity of pushing great content after week 1 is over, and now you turn from 6 months of prep time to 1 week until another full slate of stuff is going on?
Yeah, and you don't have a choice. It's like these games are coming whether you're ready or not. So you have to kind of be ready for it. A lot of times going into week 2, for instance, our preparation for week 2 actually begins like maybe the Thursday before. So yesterday we're already thinking about, at least I'm already thinking about games that we can cover in week 2, which reporters can cover them, where photographers can go for those particular games, in terms of the schedule. And then Friday we kind of cemented going into week 2. Friday morning, Friday afternoon, that allows us for Friday night to just kind of solidly be in the moment as the games are going on. And a lot of times I know we do a live updates file each week where we just kind of go around Middle Tennessee and find out which games, where games are at, who's scoring what, who's playing, who's having a great game, what team is leading at halftime. We post all that stuff on our live updates blog every Friday night, that goes on through the course of the night. And then, once week 2 hits, once Monday hits, we start the process all over again. But we all of our reporters are seasoned in this. They know what to expect. They know how to handle the week-to-week kind of grind that we go through. Some stories we have are the same each and every week, like our top games file that we have each week. That none of those things are going to change. So our reporters know that those things are coming. So they're ready for it. They're prepared for it once Monday rolls around and we enter a new week.
So in mind of maybe a football fan in the state of Tennessee that doesn't necessarily have a fandom for a specific high school, and then you yourself too, what is your biggest game tonight? Obviously, if the Tennessean's going to be at a football game in Tennessee, it's going to be a good one. But if you had to pick one to go and just sit and watch tonight, what's the best atmosphere, best game, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, our game of the week was yesterday's Brentwood Academy at Baylor. That was on ESPN2. Hopefully everybody got to see that. It was a good game until, David Gabriel George, the UT commit, kind of took over there in the second half, particularly in that fourth quarter. But, tonight, I think there's quite a bit of games. One game that really intrigues me is Whitehaven at Innsworth. I know that's not two Middle Tennessee teams, but Innsworth is a very good D2 triple team. They face really good competition in that classification. Whitehaven is a team that was very good last year out of Memphis. They got a lot of transfers this year. They got a lot of Germantown's transfers actually, going into this year. So I think that's a game that intrigues me, and a game that we'll definitely be at one of our reporters, Tyler Palmetier, does a great job for us. And if you haven't checked out the Bo Bryan story, Bo Bryan's the quarterback at BGA. His dad is Luke Bryan, the country music star. Tyler did a really great job with that story, and you can go on our website and check that out. That's a really, really good story. He's going to be at Pearl Cone for the NBA Pearl Cone game. You know, NBA, not a lot of private schools play Metro Nashville schools, but NBA has been one that has consistently done it over the course of the, I want to say 40 years or so. I think that rivalry, or at least that competition started back in 1983, like right after Pearl High School and Cone High School merged into Pearl Cone. NBA started playing them right off the bat. So, and like I said, you don't see a lot of private schools in the Nashville area playing Metro Nashville public schools. So I think that's going to be a really good game. Pearl Cone's going to be really good this year. I think they got a shot to play in the 4A state championship, probably against Alcoa, because Alcoa's won like 11 straight state titles. But I think Pearl Cone's going to be in the mix there. I think that's going to be a really good game. Like I said, the Ravenwood game, they're playing an out-of-state team in Madison Ridgeland out of Mississippi. Those are going to be good games. Saturday, I think it's going to really be intriguing because Oakland, the defending 6A state champs, playing CPA, who moved up to D2 AAA last year, kind of struggled in that classification just because the D2 AAA is such a monster of a class. I figured it's going to take CPA a few years to kind of get their footing in that classification. But they play Oakland. I don't think Oakland is quite as good as they were last year, but they've basically owned Class 6A over the past 5 or 6 years. So I think that's going to be a really, really good game. That's Saturday night at CPA. I think it's 7:00. So, BGA's got a big game Saturday as well. They're going to be playing on television against St. Michael Catholic, which is the team that is coached by Phillip Rivers, the former NFL quarterback. So, that game's going to I think that game's like right around 12:30, 1:30ish, somewhere around there. So, those games are games that I'm really looking forward to tonight and into tomorrow.
And obviously Maryville Alcoa tonight too. Alcoa is on an 11-peat right now. What does Maryville look like right now? Did they have any shot tonight?
I think last year that game, or the past 3 years, I would say that game's been a one-score game. I think Maryville is probably every bit as good as Alcoa. I think probably Alcoa holds the advantage just in terms of they may have the mental edge just because they have they've won the past, I want to say 3 or 4 straight games. So in the series. But yeah, that's always one of the biggest games in the state. And it happens early, like, again, week 1, you're getting that game. So, that's part of the reason why I like the opening week of high school football season. There's usually not a ton of really, really bad games. There's some really good season opening games. I mean, Brentwood, Baylor, yesterday. You got some good ones tonight out in East Tennessee with Maryville, Alcoa. You got some good ones here in Middle Tennessee with CPA and Oakland on Saturday. There really isn't a lot of bad games to start the season. I know college football often gets hit with that tag. Early in the season, that you might have a big Power 4 school playing a small FCS school that people are kind of yawning about, but that doesn't really happen with high school football. I mean, they come out of the gate swinging.
Tennessean high school sports editor George Robinson here with us on the George Plaster Show. Clay Tillman, say hello to him. What do you got for him?
Hey, George. This is Clay Tillman. I am a producer for the George Plaster Show, but because he's on vacation, I am taking over. And I'm going to be honest. George. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to pretend that I am an incredible and have an incredible analysis on high school sports or football in general, but I am here to challenge your knowledge about high school sports. So I graduated from Franklin High School 4 years ago, went to MTSU, graduated in May. So I haven't been to a Franklin High School game in 4 years. But my tenure with Franklin High School, we weren't a very good high school football team. We went 0-22. We were 0-22 at one point. I'm sure we broke that in my time gone from Franklin High School. But I'm curious, with my time at Franklin High School, we weren't good. And me being 4 years out of high school, what does Franklin look like this year? Are they competitive? And are they competitive enough to compete with some rivals like Brentwood High School or even Ravenwood, who seems to dominate the Region 6 year after year? What does Franklin look like this season?
Well, the first part of your statement, yeah, they, Franklin was, they had a really good program. They had fallen on some hard times, like you mentioned, the 22-game losing streak. They have since snapped that. Coach Atkins is now the coach, and that's been sort of what he's been tasked to do is to try to reclaim some of that old magic that Franklin used to have. Williamson County has such good football, and all of those schools in Williamson County support their teams, big time. Obviously, being a Franklin grad, and I think I think the fans in Franklin want nothing more than to see Franklin up there among the Brentwoods and the Ravenwoods. They're not there yet. I will say that. I don't think that they're going to be able to compete with a Brentwood or a Franklin this year. But I think their trajectory is up because I like Coach. I know Coach Atkins. I know what he's trying to build there. I know the culture that he's trying to create, and it's already started to catch on. When you look at the past couple of years at Franklin, he's made steady progress. So I think it's only a matter of time. Obviously, in this day and age with the one-time transfer rule that the Tennessee State legislature came down with or signed into law, that now the TSSAA has approved into their bylaws as well. That allows a player to be able to transfer without being ineligible at least one time in their high school career. So that tends to it's like the transfer portal for college. That's the way I look at it. It's like the transfer portal for college. So that makes it difficult to have a long, sustained success. It's not impossible. You look at Oakland, but now that law is into effect, we're going to see how it affects high school football teams. But, essentially you can have a great team one year, lose a lot of kids who want to transfer out, and have a rough year the following year, and then follow that up with maybe a state championship year the next year. It's going to be kind of wacky in that sense. And like I said, we'll see how it all plays out, how the one-time transfer rule affects, high school football teams in the state. But certainly it does make it challenging to be able to have that long-term success, to sustain that success for a long period of time. I think, like I said, I think Coach Atkins at Franklin is trying to build towards that. And then once he gets there, it's then a matter of, can he keep them there? How long can he keep them there? Because I think, for a lot of high school football coaches, being able to maintain that high level of success where you're in the state championship conversation year in and year out is just going to be harder and harder.
Sweet. George, my last question, I want to go back to the Baylor and Brentwood Academy rematch from last night. And this was a rematch of them being in the Division II AAA championship back in December, with Baylor coming on top, not just last night, but in the championship back in December. Do you see Baylor running it back this season with the talent they have in their running game, but their offense in general? What do you see from them this year after being 1-0 in the first start of high school football?
Yeah, I easily see them running it back. The biggest reason is because they have an absolute all-world beater in David Gabriel George. That kid, I don't think I've ever seen a high school football player built quite like he is. That's a grown man already. And if you watched him play last night, you could tell that he is essentially physically a man among boys out there. And that's no disrespect to Brentwood Academy at all. Brentwood Academy, I think, will probably play them for the state championship again. And Brentwood Academy played them, for 3 quarters, 3 of the 4 quarters, Brentwood Academy was right there. But David Gabriel George, and again, he's a UT commit. That kid is he's phenomenal. If you watched him run last night, I mean, he was getting his helmet knocked off constantly. He was still, plowing through defenders. And at one point he got knocked up in the air and caught himself with one arm and stayed upright and kept going. I mean, he's so strong and he's so gifted. He's incredible to watch. And that by himself makes Baylor the favorite to repeat, to win the state title again in D2 AAA. Again, I think they'll probably play Brentwood Academy as long as Brentwood Academy stays healthy. I thought Cruz Jenkins, the quarterback, played really well. It was a very flag happy game, which is to be expected in week 1 of high school football games. It's going to be sloppy, as teams kind of get back into the rhythm of a football game. But I think Brentwood Academy, played well. It's just, what do you do with DGG? That's what everybody calls David Gabriel George. What do you do with him? Like, you can gang tackle him. He'll break 4 or 5 tackles. Sometimes he'll break 3 or 4. If you hit him all at the same time, he's still going to break those tackles. He's just physically gifted, and there's nothing much you can do about it. You have to bring 11 hats to him to get him down. And then, they got a Mississippi State commit in their quarterback who can also throw it. So, they're the favorites, and I think everybody expects them to win it. It's going to take a Herculean effort from anybody in D2 AAA to knock them off. Not saying they can't be beat, but it's certainly going to be very difficult, particularly with DGG back there. I mean, that kid is he's incredible.
George, great stuff as always. And yeah, I don't know how anybody stops DGG this season. After all the viral highlights that came out of last night's game, never heard this before, but people were describing him as Spider-Man, the way he couldn't go down and was landing awkwardly. But hey, we really appreciate you coming on. It's great stuff as always. And I'm sure we'll be catching up soon.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. And tell George Plaster not to take vacation on week 1 of high school football season.
We tried to tell him. He didn't listen. You know how he is. George, thank you.
Typical Plaster.
Yeah, typical.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
That was George Robinson, the high school sports editor for the Tennessean, and he's got his hands full tonight as the season started last night, but a huge slate of games starting tonight. Most of the high schools in Tennessee playing tonight, and we couldn't be more excited. George, always great stuff from him, the editor of high school sports at the Tennessean. We'll come back on the other side of this, preview hour 2, and yeah, it's going to be a good one. George Barclay going to join us at 4 o'clock. Some legal stuff going on in the NCAA. That's on the other side of this hour here on the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Baseball is just like music. You don't believe me? Let me show you. It's jazz, improvised, and unpredictable. It's rock. The crowd explodes like a guitar through a wall of amps. It's rap, fast, sharp, all rhythm and timing. It's country, nothing but 3 outs and the truth. Do you believe me now? Look, no matter what music you're into, the hottest track in town, Nashville Sounds Baseball. Welcome to his city.
You've heard me talk about the putting zone. Well, guess what? It's now open, and it offers a revolutionary indoor golf experience featuring state-of-the-art putting surfaces designed to replicate real-world course conditions. It allows players of all skill levels to practice, compete in tournaments, and connect year-round. Go by and see them at 3040 Sidco Drive and tell them Plaz sent you. Football night in Nashville is back, and it's ready to roll from Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall. Our next event is the opening night of the NFL regular season, Wednesday, September the 9th, Super Bowl rematch, New England at Seattle. And then the next night, Thursday, September the 10th, it's the Rams and the 49ers. It's football night in Nashville with great prizes, incredible televisions, and fun that's guaranteed.
Is back. Hello again, everybody. It's the George Plaster Show. Hope you'll join me, Kelly Holcomb, and Billy Derrick Monday through Friday on 94.9 The Fan from 3 to 5 p.m. Talk sports with the Plaz, the George Plaster Show. Weekday afternoons at 3 on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Hey, Preds fans, come pickle with the Preds at the first annual Smashville Paddle Battle pickleball tournament benefiting the Preds Foundation on Saturday, August 29th at Pickleball Kingdom in Hendersonville. Sign up at NashvillePredators.com/pickleball.
Smashville lives here on 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
About to wrap it up in hour number 1 here on the George Plaster Show. And by that, I mean we've literally got about 2 minutes. So I want to bring this up to everybody's attention. This video from last night's Baylor and Brentwood Academy game, DGG, I think 178 yards, 3 total touchdowns. I think he had close to 80 yards receiving on top of that. And we just talked to George Robinson, who's the editor of high school sports at the Tennessean. I mentioned to him that I saw somebody try to call him Spider-Man, analogize him to Spider-Man yesterday, and that person has a point because check this out.
How does he stay on his feet? The ballot. This is unbelievable. I mean, he was upended and uses his.
That's insane.
Clay, I have never seen a football player do a backflip off of a hit, catch himself with one hand, and stay upright and still gain positive yardage afterwards.
I mean, this guy has such an offensive ceiling that can't be expressed. That, I mean, he has so much development in his arsenal that we haven't seen yet. He's not even in college, and he's doing things like this. I mean, college is a different level, but this guy is, yes, what they called him and being a Spider-Man, that might be an understatement. This guy is superhuman.
Like what George Robinson said, that dude's going to be a problem for the entire year, and we know he is. He's going to keep on going. Let's preview what we're going to do in hour number 2 here. We'll have stat of the day to start the top of the 4 o'clock hour. We got an NFL question that I think Clay might get. And then after that, we're going to talk to George Barclay about the legal stuff that's going on within the NCAA right now. It's getting messier and messier as time goes on, but that's what's coming next in hour number 2 on the George Plaster Show.
Smashville lives here.
Here's a shot, he scores! Steal behind the net, a one-timer! Preds score!
Your home for Preds hockey is 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Laundry piling up? Make it easier with the latest washers and dryers from Electronic Express. We carry top brands like LG, Samsung, Speed Queen, Whirlpool, and GE. So whether you need an all-in-one unit, stocked unit, front load, or top load, we've got that. With free delivery, guaranteed lowest prices, and up to 24 months free financing, upgrading your laundry room has never been easier. Find your perfect setup in-store or online, only at Electronic Express. We've got that.
Looking for a true taste of Nashville? Visit Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery, voted top 3 craft distillery tour in the country for 2025. Located just 1 mile off Broadway, it's an easy stop for locals and tourists alike. Walk the distillery floor, learn the history behind the original Tennessee whiskey, and see how it's made today. While you're here, don't forget to enjoy a flight and a meal at our on-site restaurant, Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery, where Nashville's spirit comes to life. GreenbrierDistillery.com for reservations.
Welcome back to another PBR Minute. Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier, alongside Nashville Stampede head coach Justin McBride, a winning Justin McBride, 9-2 on the season for the PBR teams event for the Nashville Stampede. And what a weekend it was here in Nashville, Justin. This team showed out in style.
Well, I tell you who really showed out was Nashville. the city, the fans. It was awesome, man. What an event and what an honor to be able to call that our home stand.
Stampede are in first place in the PBR teams event, a 9-2 record, as the Nashville Stampede look to continue their success in the PBR teams event. If you didn't catch the Stampede days this year, don't worry. It'll be back next year. Bigger, better than ever. It's 8 seconds with the best riders in the sport, the best bulls in the sport. No second chances. You can get your tickets for next year's PBR Stampede days at Ticketmaster.com. Justin, as always, appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks a lot, Nick. Appreciate you.
Looking for bold flavor and big-time vibes in Music City? Head to Social Cantina Nashville, right in the heart of historic Germantown. From crave-worthy tacos and fresh Mexican fare to legendary margaritas, it's the perfect stop before the show, after the game, or anytime you're feeling festive.
With daily specials, weekday happy hour, and a lively atmosphere, every visit brings the party. Social Cantina Nashville. Loud, social, flavorful, and unforgettable.
Dads and sons, set aside some time for an unforgettable weekend together. Father-Son Adventure Weekend is August 21st through 23rd at Deer Run, just south of Franklin. Enjoy a weekend packed with outdoor activities, games, friendly competition, and plenty of opportunities to make memories that'll last a lifetime. It's perfect for dads and sons of all ages, and uncles, mentors, and foster dads are welcome too. Father-Son Adventure Weekend at Deer Run. Everything's planned. Just show up and enjoy the adventure together.
Don't risk your retirement. Plan for long-term care now with Patrick Conger at LPL Financial Nashville. Help protect your assets and ease the burden on loved ones. Securities offered through LPL Financial. Member FINRA SIPC.
Welcome. I'm Tom, your banker in Nashville. I'm proud to wear the green of Huntington Bank, a bank that has been building communities for 160 years, one relationship at a time. Come see us, and let's get more from money. Huntington Bank.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429, has a path to a dignified career. Are you a skilled electrician or lineman? Tired of dead-end, low-paying jobs? Local 429 is accepting applications for highly skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to ibew429.org. IBEW Local 429, the best training and training the best.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
35 years of the best sports talk in Nashville. It's the George Plaster Show with Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame quarterback Kelly Holcomb and young gun Lewis Maddox. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hour number 2 of the George Plaster Show, and we'll kick things off, as always, with the Apple Collision Center's stat of the day, and we'll see if Clay Tillman can get this thing correct. So here we go. NFL question. Which quarterback threw for 500 yards in a Super Bowl but still lost the game?
Oh, man. That's a good question.
It's pretty recent. We were in middle school when this happened. I'll give you a hint.
So that was... I don't even remember when I was in middle school. It was in middle school. I mean, that's the year. I mean, Tom Brady was dominant. I mean, I'm not gonna say. I'm thinking either Tom Brady or did Nick Foles with the Eagles do this when in that incredible Super Bowl, I'm going to go Nick Foles. I'm probably not correct, but that's what I'm thinking.
Nick Foles had a fantastic game in that game, and you're on the right track because Tom Brady and Nick Foles played each other in Super Bowl 40-something or 50-something. I don't know. I don't know which Super Bowl it was, but it's Tom Brady. Nick Foles got the win in that game, 41-33. Tom Brady threw for 505 yards.
So right Super Bowl, wrong quarterback.
Yep, you were on the right track.
All right, there we go.
But still, no cigar. No cigar, Clay.
Well, maybe next time.
That happens to the best of us. Welcome back into the George Plaster Show, hour number 2. Stat of the day is out of the way, and George Barclay is in our waiting room. And it seems like every time we bring this guy on, things have gotten more and more messy as we go through everything that's happening. I want to start this way. Well, first of all, George, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're doing
good. Yeah, we're doing great. So I want to start it this way. Before this morning, when the news broke about the 10th Circuit recounting their decision on the 2022 athletes getting that extra year of eligibility, this Louisiana case that went down, granting the 30 players the extra year, 16 football players, can you break down what that case said and what the reasoning was behind why those guys got granted that injunction?
Sure, absolutely, Lewis. So I think a good way to kind of differentiate these cases from one another is that they involve two completely different sets of legal claims. What happened in the Colorado case is a case that involves federal antitrust law, and it's a completely different analysis from what's going on in these state court cases like the Louisiana case where we had a decision yesterday. Those cases involve a breach of contract analysis, which is a lower burden of proof and is completely different in terms of the lens that the court is viewing the case in from the Wisney case in Colorado. And basically what happened in the Louisiana case is similar to these other state court cases, guys. In these breach of contract claims, the NCAA has a huge problem because if you look at the letter of the 5-for-5 rule, the class of 2022 is squarely within that rule. It's 5 years of eligibility in a 5-year window. And they clearly fit within that timetable. And the NCAA has just said, we're sorry, you can't play because we say so. And as far as contract law goes, guys, that basically meets the definition of bad faith and a breach of contract. And it just doesn't pass muster because these guys basically who are in the class of 2022, they fit all the criteria for the rule, but yet they're not being allowed to play. And there's no legal justification for it that the NCAA has been able to come up with. And because of that, they're losing over and over again in these state court cases. And Louisiana was just the latest example. Now, what is really interesting about the Louisiana case compared to some of these other court cases, guys, is that something that's a theme in contract law is that when a party commits what's called a material breach, in other words, a significant violation of a contract, sometimes they are unable to enforce the entire contract altogether. And that's what ended up happening in this Louisiana case. Because the way that the court viewed this case, guys, is that the NCAA's rules, which include eligibility rules, function as a contract between the NCAA and all of its member schools. And basically what the court said in Louisiana to the NCAA was, listen, for no legal reason, you denied this entire cohort of athletes the right to play a 5th year when they clearly fit within your eligibility window for the 5-for-5 rule. And because you did that, we're not going to allow you to enforce some other bylaws that you have, which include restrictions like athletes who sign pro contracts being able to be eligible. for college sports. So that's really how the court got there. If it weren't for the NCAA just acting in bad faith and barring these players from playing, you wouldn't have the result that you have in Louisiana, because otherwise the prohibition on having pro athletes come back to college is perfectly justifiable. But because the NCAA acted in such a bad faith manner, that's why you have the result that you have. Because the NCAA just excluded these guys, they opened up the door for the court to rule the way that it did.
Right. And now this morning we hear that now 2022 athletes can't play. I mean, how does that even work in a legal court of law when you are under a contract and you fit the criteria to play in the 2026 college football season? Now you can't. Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's a little confusing. So what happened in the Colorado case was that case was based on what's called an antitrust theory. So the court was basically looking through every issue in that lawsuit through a labor law lens as opposed to a contract lens like these state court cases. And the problem that a lot of these federal antitrust NIL cases have been having is that the analysis and the burden of proof is not only complicated, but the burden of proof is really high to meet. And so while it's much easier for these players to show a breach of contract under contract law, showing that the NCAA's eligibility rule harms the Division I athletics labor market, that is a lot more complicated, and it's still a developing area of law. And basically, the result that you have is a little funky, because any of these athletes who didn't file a state court lawsuit and get named in those lawsuits, they're not eligible to play right now under the Wisney decision. Now, what it could happen, and I think is something that we're going to see a lot of in the coming weeks, is you're going to see some more athletes who are in this class of 2022 group file these state court lawsuits, because the courts have been a lot more favorable to them. I think what was the sticking point in the Wisney decision, after reading it, the judges had a pretty short decision, but what has been a sticking point in these cases is that it's been really hard for the athletes to clearly define the Division I athletics labor market and basically make it clear to the court that it's distinct from all of these other leagues. That has been something that athletes have run into in federal courts all across this country. And it's part of the reason why you've had a lot of these state court breach of contract claims. It's because for the athletes involved, it's a much lower burden of proof to meet and an easier legal standard.
So if one 2022 athlete takes it to court and gets denied, then the next guy takes it and he gets accepted and he's allowed to play college football, do we end up seeing appeals, or does that process take too long? And then at that point, we're already into the season and it doesn't really matter.
Lewis, that's a really good question. So depending on how and when these lawsuits are filed, with some of these athletes, unless they file emergency motions for relief, they might be really up against it in terms of the beginning of the season if they haven't already filed a state court lawsuit. Because to your point, courts often operate on their own schedules. I think the NCAA was really fortunate to have gotten such a quick ruling on their motions for stay. And I think a big part of that was because they filed not only an emergency motion for relief, but because this was a case where the stakes were incredibly high, where it affected every Division I athlete in the country who was within the high school class of 2022. But individual state court lawsuits involving individual athletes, those, unless they file emergency motions, are probably not going to get heard quickly. And then to the second part of your question, in terms of appeals go and how they go, the NCAA may have a difficult time getting those heard quickly, depending on what the docket is like in the state courts, unless they were to file an emergency motion to stay the injunction. But like I said before, because of how the NCAA has handled this, the analysis for the court is way less friendly to them on a contract issue.
Yeah, it's pretty wild talking about all this because I was the class of 2022. So it's pretty nuts to think about all this stuff in terms of that. But where, if you had to say, where would you say that this piece of this giant puzzle ends up? The 2022 athletes, how is this resolved?
I think what is going to happen is you're going to have this weird checkerboard in Division I athletics where you have some athletes from this group that have gotten injunctions and are allowed to play, and then those who haven't and who are not allowed to play. Now, I think what's really interesting about this and newsworthy and noteworthy is yesterday you had the decision come down where all of these, or actually not yesterday, but Wednesday, all of these players who had signed NFL contracts were allowed to come back. And I think the important thing to keep in mind with this group of athletes is that the high school class of 2022 are kind of a legal unicorn because they're the only group that is within the 5-for-5 rule that's not being allowed to play. Everybody else in this group of NCAA athletes has the ability to be eligible, and the NCAA is not trying to block them from playing at all. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. And like I was saying before, because the NCAA's breach of contract was so egregious with these athletes, that's why these athletes who signed pro contracts in this Louisiana lawsuit were allowed to come back to play by the judge. I think you can distinguish this case from what happened, say, with somebody like Charles Bediako in Alabama, because he really got just bad NBA draft advice and he left on his own. These athletes who are in the class of 2022, many of whom have filed lawsuits, a lot of them wanted to come back for a fifth year, but didn't have that luxury because of when the NCAA enacted this new rule and because the NCAA intentionally dragged its feet to close them out. It's not like they had the option of staying in school and chose not to. So I think when people are thinking about these players who, some of whom have been in NFL training camps and are being allowed to come back, I think they have to keep that important fact in mind, that they fit in a group where they still have eligibility and they were really forced into this situation as opposed to players just trying to go pro on their own free will and it not working out.
So do you think that we'll see some guys that are in NFL training camps and preseason right now back on the college level? I mean, there's a dude that plays for Tampa Bay right now, Jack Pyburn, that had 2 sacks against the Jets last week, played at LSU, and now he might go back and play Wake Forest week 1.
Yeah, Lewis, I think you could. And it's because they kind of fit in this narrow group of athletes who were wrongfully denied a fifth year by the NCAA. And trust me, I get it. It's chaotic. I think like most college sports fans, I just want to know who's eligible, who's not eligible so that we can play the games and enjoy them and watch them as fans. But I think the way that the NCAA has handled this really created this chaos. Because one thing that I think a lot of people forget is last summer, the NCAA was considering implementing a 5-year eligibility rule. And then at the last minute, they elected not to. And that's what led to eventually just a mountain of lawsuits. What started with the Langston Patterson redshirt rule lawsuit has now evolved into all of these state court breach of contract lawsuits filed by these athletes. And I think if the NCAA had just had the wisdom to say, we're going to grandfather these athletes into the rule and we're going to adjust the roster rules for 1 year, they could have saved themselves so much money. And also saved everybody, media, fans, coaches, all these headaches. Because to your point, it is a mess right now. Trying to figure out, you almost have to have an Excel spreadsheet to figure out who's eligible and who's not.
Yeah, and on top of that, how big, if you had to estimate, do you think that this group turns out being of NFL guys trying to go back? Because I talked about this yesterday with Kelly. 40 guys from all 32 of these teams aren't going to be playing football in the NFL this season. So they're either going to be, real estate agents or, some of them might want to try and come back. How big do you think this thing gets before something is resolved?
I think that you could have probably somewhere in the dozens of players coming back for football season, and then maybe a little bit more for basketball potentially, because there's a little bit more time between now and the start of basketball seasons. I think the thing too to keep in mind is a lot of coaches have their minds made up as to who is going to play and who is not, and what they might need for roster spots. And not everybody has the same amount of roster spots open. I think what has been interesting to me is hearing the argument that the NCAA has made over and over again, that if these players are permitted to come back, that they're just going to take away opportunities from some of the freshmen that are coming in. And I find that interesting for a couple of reasons, because if you look at today's just NIL era college roster and the starters, unless somebody's really a high-end freshman, they're typically not going to play.
They're NFL rookie age.
Yeah. Injunction or no injunction, most of these starters are seasoned veteran guys. I mean, just look at the two major Division I schools in the state of Tennessee as far as athletics go, and Vanderbilt and Tennessee, and look at some of their rosters and some of the key players, whether it's baseball, football, basketball. The majority of the guys on these teams are seasoned guys. Occasionally you have the freshmen who are highly touted in there, but most of these guys are veteran players. And I think that argument, particularly in these state court lawsuits, has really run hollow for the NCAA. Now, I think they got a break from the federal court. And what's interesting about the federal court in Colorado case, Lewis, is that it was a split decision by the appeals court. You had a 3-judge panel, and 2 of the judges ruled in favor of the NCAA, and 1 of them ruled in favor of the players. So it really just goes to show how close of a call that was, and how close we were for the floodgates being opened, if you will.
Yeah, and last thing for me, George, before I turn it over to Clay for the last couple of questions, just talked about the federal case in Colorado, and we all know that the Saving College Sports Act, right, got pushed back to September on a vote there. Is it that simple in this situation? Does some type of federal legislation solve this, or no?
I would say not really, because what is kind of silly about all of these lawsuits and the Protect College Sports Act is the Protect College Sports Act wants to codify the 5-for-5 rule to the letter of the current rule. And ironically, if that happens, let's say the Protect College Sports Act passes today, that includes all of these guys from the high school class of 2022 that the NCAA has been pounding the table about. These guys can't play. And while that act would eliminate the federal lawsuits against the NCAA, the state court lawsuits would still be preserved. So you would still have lawsuits like a Trinidad Chambliss lawsuit, which was a state court breach of contract lawsuit. The recent Tennessee basketball player lawsuit, where the players wanted an injunction. So it would still be a checkerboard for the NCAA, and it wouldn't quite be a silver bullet.
Clay Tillman, you're up to bat.
Hey, George, producer for the show. George is on vacation, so I'm taking over. I want to hop off the topic of the eligibility thing, and I kind of want to give you a general question. With Title IX being a federal law since 1972, and you have these schools who are able to dish out a certain amount of money. I believe in 2025, it was $20.5 million. And then this year, I think it's 21.3 for that being a cap. With men's sports, obviously, majority of the time dominate viewership and revenue being sent in and being reverted into schools. With Title IX being in place, how does that work with men and women's sports? Is there an equal balance in how much money gets or is given to men's sports and women's sports? Like, what does that look like with Title IX being a federal law in college sports?
That's a really good question.
That is a good question.
I think it's become extremely complicated because, especially in the NIL landscape, you have a lot of these collectives and then these third-party marketing agencies who are independent from the schools, but yet are giving all of these just millions and millions of dollars to athletic programs, so that the players can be played. And while the money might not go directly from these entities to the school, the purpose of these deals is so that the Tennessees and the Vanderbilts of the world can sign these high-end athletes and have them play for their school for how many ever years. I think in terms of the Title IX stuff, there hasn't been a lot of litigation about it yet. But I think if there were to be, it could get really interesting, because there's a whole separate analysis, from these cases involving players being eligible, whether it's an antitrust lawsuit in federal court or a state law a breach of contract lawsuit. But I think if somebody were to file a Title IX lawsuit, that could potentially ruffle some feathers and get a result that the NCAA might not like. Depending, I'd have to take a close look at what the court filings were, but that's certainly something that's on the table.
Yeah, and my last question, you probably heard the story of Lenora Sellers not attending any class this semester. He's taking an internship. I forget where it is. Lewis, is it a golf course?
Yeah, it's not even a golf course. It's just a driving range in Columbia. He has no classes, no online, no in person, nothing.
Whatever it is. I mean, Carson Beck was at the podium and he was talking about that he hasn't attended class in like 2 semesters or 2 years, whatever that is. How often because we are now seeing a trend of this, are we going to see more college students neglecting going to class and focusing more on football? And do schools and coaches, do they really care that their students are attending class, or do they just care that they're winning football? What does this look like?
I think it really depends on the school, because I had read that about Lenora Sellers, and you have athletes like him, and then you've got somebody like Vanderbilt linebacker Nick Rinaldi, who's going to earn his 3rd degree from Vanderbilt this year. He's going to get his 2nd master's degree from the university. So I think that's awesome. It really kind of depends on the coaches and kind of what they value and emphasize. But depending on how these schools' programs are structured, you could have some athletes who are in a similar position to Lenora Sellers, in that, they might be done with their coursework and they're doing some sort of glorified internship instead of going to class. It really is kind of just a crazy sign of the times that we're in. I mean, I know with Vanderbilt, they added some graduate programs, and part of that was to kind of help them in the NIL era get some more, transfers from who were graduates, and then, help them get their degrees as well as, be on the teams. So it is kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, to your point, you may see a ton of athletes like Lenora Sellers and somebody like, a Nick Rinaldi of the world might be a little bit more rare.
Yeah. George, it's going to be Jared Curtis, right? On West End.
If I were a betting man, I would probably say Jared Curtis is going to win the job at the end of the day. I think that he has the skill set to be just the difference maker that a school like Vanderbilt needs in order to win, at the SEC level. I know that the coaching decision, hasn't been formally made yet, but I think it's most likely gonna be Jared Curtis, just because he has the most upside, and he came to Vanderbilt with knowing that he'd have a legitimate shot to play and win the starting job right away. And I think that, he gives them the best chance to win of their current options right now. And I'll be really interested to see, how the announcement is made and who ends up starting in a couple weeks against Austin Peay.
Yeah, I am too. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to adjust and turn into a good quarterback. But I think once he does it, he's going to. George, really appreciate you coming on in the last minute this morning. I appreciate you stepping up to the plate and taking a leadership role like we like to talk about on this show and joining us, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, absolutely. George, we'll talk soon, and see you later.
All right, sounds good, guys. Take care.
See ya.
Thanks. See ya.
That was George Barclay. He's an attorney, but also a reporter for the Dore Report. He does a fantastic job of breaking down all the legal stuff that we have no idea about. So gives us some great insight.
Absolutely.
That does it for this segment. We're going to come back on the other side of this and start talking a little bit of Titans. First, we'll hear from Robert Saleh, his press conference from Wednesday. He also talked yesterday about the upcoming matchup. Actually, he talked today about their joint practice, and on Wednesday about the matchup with Seattle. We'll hear words from Robert Saleh next on the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
A lot of people want to define teams by singular performances.
Sports. Did he not go back into the game after that interception?
Let's get this turned around. And we're all saying, no, they don't.
Here.
You thought you were on your way.
Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Second segment, hour number 2 of the George Plaster Show. Lewis Maddox here filling in for George as he's out this week on vacation. Clay Tillman helping me out as well today, so really appreciate him. We've talked high school sports with George Barclay, or with George Robinson. We've talked NCAA legal stuff with George Barclay. We've had 3 Georges on in 2 shows. One of them was Plaster yesterday, and obviously the 2 today. So it's been it's definitely been the George Plaster Show the last couple of days. But now we're going to get into some NFL football. Titans play the Seattle Seahawks, 7 p.m. on Sunday night in Nissan Stadium. We're going to hear from head coach Robert Saleh. This is from Wednesday. We'll also hear his words from today on their joint practice, the matchup with Seattle, what's to come, what we'll see from the Titans in preseason week 2. Here's Robert Saleh from Wednesday.
Woke up feeling some lower half stiffness. Hopefully we get him back on Friday. Nothing to be concerned about. Other than that, we're evaluating a couple of guys for some injuries. I know Keldrick came out there in that 2-minute drive, or that move the ball drive. He's getting evaluated for a shoulder. We think it's just a stinger, but we'll know more tomorrow.
How's Mark?
What's that?
Mark?
He was good. He went through some practice. He feels good. Was active. He came out clean.
I guess Mitch too. You got good news there on.
Yeah, he's good. He's in good shape.
I like the way Anthony Hill seems to be showing up around the football a lot, especially today. He's been like 4 or 5 different times at his hands around the football.
Yeah, every day is going to be a new experience for him, and all the rookies really. But he's starting to grasp the middle linebacker position. We ask a lot of that group, but he's doing a good job handling it.
There, can you just talk about what it meant to you guys to even do that, and obviously call out?
Give credit to the guys. Morgan, Cam, and Jeff put that one together for the team. I think anytime you can stand up for your. It just seems like there's a lot of athletes, not just in football, but all over, that are being affected by this thing, and to get a group of guys together and bring awareness to it, I think is always special.
What seeing about how polished he is as a prospect? Now that you've seen him,
who's this? Cornell. He looks real good, and there's still a lot of things that he has to learn with the game, with regard to the game within a game that's happening out there at the on the perimeter. It's different than college, where I always tell people in college, from here to that pole is covered, but from here to this pole is wide open. It's just a different mentality on how tight coverage is in this league, and how precise you have to be with regard to attacking leverage, winning on negative leverage, winning on positive leverage, and creating separation for the quarterback, and winning and being strong at the point in tight windows. So he's learning every day. He's doing a really nice job. He's only going to get better.
Started out initially at X-Men. I was starting to see you move him across the formation. Was that the plan? Or?
That's Dayball's offense is built in a way where he can move his guys anywhere that he needs to.
And then how about what you've seen from him against Preston?
That's still ongoing. We haven't pressed as much, and he got some action against San Francisco. Hopefully we get a little against Seattle. I know we'll get some versus Chicago, but that's going to be a year-long.
You're before down in Seattle in here. What's the challenge there compared to maybe last week?
You know what? They're not to compare the two. They're 2 elite organizations. Both teams sitting there in the second round of the playoffs a year ago. We were playing for the 1 seed in the very last week of the season. So another great football team, another great organization. A lot of great players on in all 3 phases in that on that Seattle roster, and I'm sure they're excited to get out and stop playing one another. They had to get to camp a week early, and they haven't seen anybody except for themselves, and so I'm sure they're looking forward to it as much as we are.
What was your message from your guys in this one that you maybe didn't see last week? What's the message that you?
The message last time was just to try to establish the identity of violence, and I know that it may not seem like it from the sideline until you get to the tape, but I do feel like both offensive and defensive lines really handled the line of scrimmage all week last week, especially in the run game, and the expectation is that we continue to try to establish our identity and who we're going to be.
Were the secondary struggles connected at all to the pass rush last week, and what do you want to see particularly from the secondary?
We've got to get from a secondary standpoint, everything's just got to get tighter. A lot of the issues last week were in one-on-one situations, and that's what we're trying to evaluate. Sure, we can play zone and we can keep underneath help and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, to win in this league, and we had a good talk about it today, you've got to win in man coverage. You've got to win at the line of scrimmage and one-on-one. So it's all one-on-one, 3rd and 4, got to have it. And that's the mentality that you've got to have at all times. And so for us, it's about getting tighter in our coverage, cleaning up our press techniques, cleaning up our off techniques, and understanding what each technique is being asked out of the guys.
Some place for Flott, at least, where he was close and didn't.
Yeah, but
is that a different kind of problem than better problem?
No, it's for him and really for in the game last week. Just speaking for Flott, everything started at the line of scrimmage. When you really go back and look at it, and I know there was a couple plays where there was off coverage and there's awareness. You're not game planning, but when you're at the line of scrimmage, a lot of the issues that happen downfield actually end or start at the line, and that's where he's got to improve.
You want people generally, like, what's the general rule about
when you're up there in press? So that's part of the game, right? Like, if you're saying in a perfect world you want to end the guy at the line of scrimmage, that rarely ever happens. So you're trying to create disruption at the line of scrimmage to mess with the timing of the quarterback just enough to give your D-line a chance to get home. But at the same time, you're trying to be disciplined to make sure that you're not giving up a go ball. So there's a lot being asked out of the corner at the line of scrimmage, but the last thing you want to do is give free access release where you're in chase mode, which is what ended up happening to him on the one rep on the goal ball to Stribler.
As this has played home, how much have you found yourself being involved in the offense more than you thought, less than you thought? Does that put your mind at ease? The little he hasn't seen.
It's about what I expected. There's always constant dialogue. There's always to steal from our good friend in Houston, Matt Burke, the duality of coaching, where you're trying to give awareness to both sides of the ball to make sure that we're all coaching in a way that's educating everybody. And so there's constant dialogue, there's constant scripting to make sure that we're maximizing our players' time, and there's constant challenging with regards to what we're teaching, what we're asking out of our guys. And I welcome him challenging the defense. He's been a head coach, he knows what he's looking for. He's been a coordinator a long time. So the dialogue and the communication has been pretty cool.
Hey, Scott, in that last joint practice with San Francisco, I would assume you expect more of the same year. Can you just kind of speak to how that's kind of become the cost of doing business with these joint practices?
Yeah, you know what? I know we glorify if they're pushing and shoving like that. The Cowboy Saints one, that's what we don't want. Those melees where there's just people on the ground and all that stuff. But if guys are, they're jawing at each other and pushing and shoving, like, that's not a big deal to me. That's going to happen. They're competing their tails off. It's hot. It's they're straining. But you start throwing punches, you start throwing people to the ground. That's where it gets a little out. You're getting carried away. But what happened last week in San Francisco to me was nothing.
No, yeah, I was just going to say, so, fair to say that as long as you take it to the brief and give you guys the green light to do that?
Yeah, we're always going to push the envelope with regards to towing the line of violence. That doesn't mean you go out there play cheap. It doesn't mean that you're creating personal, or you're getting personal fouls called on you. Ideally, you're agitating and getting personal fouls called in your favor. But we want our guys going from the snap to the echo of the whistle, period. And if that pisses somebody off, it pisses somebody off.
Acclimating or getting to know some of the off-roster mature guys. So there are times where you're meeting a guy for the first time on the field. How do they learn plays and dynamics so quickly? How do you treat these guys like they're on the team when they've been here for 3 months?
Well, that's part of it. Every position room has 2 coaches. And, so you have your senior assistant, then you have your young assistant. And the young assistant's job is to get those young men up to speed as quickly as possible. But we've also, put the work in the beginning of when we first got here. All the voiceover tapes, all the teach tapes, the little short films that we make with our voices to help them, so they can go home and just watch these little 5-minute short clips on what is a hook drop, what is whatever technique we're trying to teach in all 3 phases. And so there's a lot of opportunity for the young man to learn. They just have to have the initiative to go do it.
Last one. How seriously are you taking looks at these guys to make their team? Is it just you need a body to fill it?
If they're on this field, we owe it to them to give them a serious look, period. And at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter. And I've said this to to guys, and I've said it to you guys, like the gap between the best players, and I'm not talking about the Jeffrey Simmons of the world, the superstars. I'm talking about the player A to player Z. The gap is as thin as an opportunity. And, these young men just want an opportunity. And so our job is to give them every opportunity they can to be successful. And you never know what happens.
That was Titans head coach Robert Saleh on Wednesday. Now one joint practice in this morning. Let's see what he had to say today on the Titans' first joint practice with Seattle. Obviously, that game coming Sunday night at Nissan Stadium at 7 p.m. Probably not going to see a whole lot of starters from Seattle, but a lot of good work for Tennessee coming.
Looked at for his bicep. Think we're good, but again, I'm the eternal optimist. So I'll let you guys know tomorrow. And then Tate, feel good about where he's at. He's getting evaluated, but I think he just got a little bit dizzy. I don't think we're concerned about concussions or anything.
When a guy like Carmona is where he is, and he's working as much as he is against Jeff, how do you adjust the grading scale?
Well, Jeff is arguably the best in football, so this is about as good as it's going to get for him in terms of the competition level, but it doesn't matter. I mean, there's every week we're not playing an FCS opponent. It's not Alabama versus FCS or Ohio State versus FCS. Everyone is the best of the best of the best. So he's just got to show up every week, and it'll be exciting on Friday. Completely different techniques on Friday for him with the way Seattle plays their fronts, completely different body types, completely different movers, and so it'll be good for him.
You'll start him again.
Yeah, he'll probably have first dibs. We acknowledge Paul, 30 years covering the Titans. Well, that's pretty cool, man. But congratulations. I mean, so injury-wise, there's a couple nicks and bruises, but for the most part, we feel pretty good about the way we came out. Everyone should be available for the game. We'll see the offense. It sounds like offense had a pretty good day. Defensively, thought we did really well. Some good back and forth, but overall, I love the way we competed. Yeah, I'm looking forward to looking at the offensive tape, because that was something that I thought on both sides. I know defensively, I thought we did really well up front, handling the run game. Thought we got a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They get frustrated with me because I never call sacks. We'll get them on Sunday, but on the offensive side, I'm looking forward to seeing the tape to see if it was a continuation, because I felt like we really owned the line of scrimmage last week. And it'll be cool if we were able to do it against these guys.
A lot of watching offense and look across the field and saw line take on the other way. What happened on that play?
Yeah, quarterback got late into his progression, late to his side, and Alante broke on it, took it back to the house.
What's kind of your plan after today for how the reps will be distributed on?
Same as last time. We're all playing. The number, I don't know. We got a lot of work in today, so it might be shorter, might be longer. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to handle it yet.
You're not sitting in.
No.
Outside of the pick 60, you like how the secondary is against the call?
Yeah, I thought we had a good week. There's a lot of things that going against it, and this is why I love these joint practices. San Francisco does a lot of things differently from a route standpoint that expose some of our techniques and some of the things that we're teaching that needed to be corrected and adjusted. And I thought the DBs, Tony Oden and Marquand, we went to the drawing board and they really attacked it, and our players have attacked it, and I thought they had a much better day. We're nowhere near where we need to be, but I thought it was a lot better from a technique standpoint.
The NFL's cracking down on a lot of the scuffles and fighting in these joint practices, handing out fines. What's kind of your feeling? Is that a great thing that they're doing that, or is it something that just these scuffles are going to happen out here?
The scuffles happen, guys. Like, these guys are competing their tails off, and it's not like a game where you get, you play for 5 plays and you go away from each other. You go to the sideline, watch the other side of the ball. It's where you're focused in. I mean, it's hot. It's play after play. You're right there just drawing at each other the entire practice. And So the pushing and shoving will always happen. But it's when you get into those melees and people fighting and punching and throwing people to the ground, that's where it becomes unnecessary. And so for the NFL to crack down on that stuff, I think it's warranted. But at the same time, I think it's on the players too. I think most players love these joint practices. I do think they get a lot out of it. And it's just like we talked about to our team today. You can still, there's nothing illegal about playing snap to whistle and playing as violent as you possibly can, as long as it's legal. But it takes a man to walk back to the huddle, and just the mindset to get back to the huddle and get yourself ready for the next play. That's on the organizations to police and on the players to execute.
Hurry up in 2 minutes to Langdon, very effective for the offense. How much do you think this team's going to rely on hurry up? Is there going to be a change up? Is it going to be something that you pop into?
It's stuff that's going to be, being able to change tempo, I think, is a hallmark of Dable's system. But, we're going to do what we need to do to win football games and score points. And if it means changing up the tempo in the middle of the game, we'll change it up. If it means getting in and out of the huddle at a certain tempo, we'll do that. If it means being slow as heck and methodical, we'll do that. But to be able to practice all this stuff and practice going tempo, practice all the different types of tempos, cadences at the line of scrimmage is vital to the success of an offense.
Plan for starters to go the first half for this next game?
If I draw it up perfectly, I'd like for him to go the first half. But like I said, I'm not putting a number on it. Like I said, we got a really good amount of reps today. So we'll see how it goes.
So what constitutes success? How do you measure that for the starters? How many series?
For me, it's execution. I know this is a results-based business, but it's like I tell our players, the preseason may not count, but it still matters. So thankfully, we have the luxury to not worry about the scoreboard and the result of a play. We can look at our technique. We can look at our execution. Are we doing the right things? Are we making the right reads? Are we making the right checks? Are we communicating the right way? Is the quarterback making the right decisions? That, to me, is what's going to define success. We can go back to Cam's performance last week. He was making the right decision. Now we got to execute a little bit better. But like I said, those are all teachable moments. But the plus is that he made the right decisions, and that's as long as the guys are making the right decisions and communicating the right way, the technique's going to come. And so for me, that's success in the preseason.
I know you didn't see everything from him today, but have you liked how Cam's responding?
I think he's had a great camp. Like every player in this camp, there's going to be some peaks and valleys. But for the most part, I think Cam, his decision making has been what we've hoped it would be. He's had days where he's played elite quarterback. There's days where I'm sure he wants to have a couple days back. But I think by far, I think you can make the case that more often than not, he's doing a hell of a job.
Robert Saleh is high on Cam Ward, thinks he's had a great camp. There's obviously some talks about his spot on the Titans offense right now, needing to see a lot more from Cam Sunday night against Seattle. That was head coach Robert Saleh from this week at Titans camp, and that right there was after their first joint practice with the Seattle Seahawks from this morning. We'll take a quick timeout, rejoin you, and wrap up hour number 2, wrap up the week, and send you on your way for the weekend when we return after this on the George Plaster Show.
When I got my first car, my dad told me, keep the gas tank full and my number on speed dial. Now parents are telling their kids, save 615-242-9000 just in case. I'm Blair Durham. If you or someone you love is in a wreck, call us. We're here to get you the money you deserve.
What would you do if the pain was gone? At the Dr. Gill Center, we've helped thousands of people over the last 30 years break free from pain and get back to living life. We're committed to your outcomes, and our caring team listens, understands, and offers real solutions to neuropathy, back pain, and joint pain without unnecessary surgery or medication. Choose the clinic that listens. Choose the clinic that cares. Call the Dr. Gill Center today at 615-882-4838.
Let's make your pain-free life a reality.
Baseball is just like music. You don't believe me? Let me show you. It's jazz, improvised and unpredictable. It's rock, The crowd explodes like a guitar through a wall of amps. It's rap, fast, sharp, all rhythm and timing. It's country, nothing but 3 outs and the truth. Do you believe me now? Look, no matter what music you're into, the hottest track in town, Nashville Sounds Baseball. Welcome to his city.
Football night in Nashville is back, and it's ready to roll from Sports and Social in Green Hills Mall. Our next event is the opening night of the NFL regular season, Wednesday, September the 9th, Super Bowl rematch, New England at Seattle. And then the next night, Thursday, September the 10th, it's the Rams and the 49ers. It's football night in Nashville with great prizes, incredible televisions, and fun that's guaranteed.
Weather update. Here is our weather in Middle Tennessee. Patchy fog is possible overnight, otherwise clear with a low near 68. Saturday brings morning fog, then sunny skies with a high near 93. Sunday stays sunny with a high near 90. From the Game Nashville Sports Network, I'm Waylon Smithers.
Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network. Check out our YouTube page at 1025 The Game for exclusive reports from the Titans with Connor Newt and Parker Kelly. The best Titans coverage lives here. Your sports live here. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Welcome back in. Final segment of hour number 2 of the George Plaster Show. Just a couple hours away from the first full slate of high school football in Tennessee. I've got goosebumps. I'll be at Dixon County for Columbia Central's first matchup tonight in week 1 as they take on the Cougars. Brand new facility down there. They didn't play a home game last season. I think $7 million is what they put into their facilities at Dixon County High School. So excited about that one. Clay Tillman's going to join me here as we wrap this thing up. Final couple of minutes of the show. We've been talking about this since yesterday. Me and Kelly went into depth on this topic. But this is interesting to me. Brent Venables gets a contract extension as the head coach for Oklahoma. This will be his 5th season as the head man there. 6-year contract extension through the 2031 season. The total value there is $63 million, which means he's going to average about $10.5 million per season. But here's the thing. He's 32-20 over his 4 seasons at Oklahoma, a conference record of 18-16. 2 of those seasons coming in the Big 12 conference record-wise. 1,600 points for, 1,100 against, and a bowl record of 0-4. They have not won a postseason game yet. And speaking of postseason, I think the main reason, Clay, that he got this job or got this extension is because they went 10-3 last year, went 6-2 in the conference, made the playoff, but then they get there and they blow a 17-0 lead that they built in the second quarter to Alabama, who ended up getting the best of them 34-24. I think it's kind of the same situation with Kalen DeBoer. We've talked about this all week. Have we seen enough from either of these guys to say, yeah, he's the head coach of our future. He's the face of our school. He deserves $10, $11, $12 million per year. I just don't know if a .615 win percentage over 4 seasons gives you that luxury to say, yeah, I'm that dude.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, there's not a sustainability marker that proves Venables in getting what he was paid. He has a 32-20 record with Oklahoma, but there is a glaring inconsistency of his resume of being the head coach. In 2022, he went 6-7. But a year later, yeah, he goes 10-3, but in 26, back to 6-7. Last year, goes 10-3. 50% of his seasons are losing seasons, and you're betting on him having another consistent season when the last 4 seasons have been up and down, up and down. Now you have a guy like John Mateer, who's your starting QB. I expect Oklahoma to be a similar season or a similar team like last season with a healthy John Mateer, but being 0-4 in bowl games, having a dirty run in the playoffs, losing first round. I don't see the reason for them giving him this amount of money, similar to the Kalen DeBoer situation. I feel like it was rushed.
I do too. Not gonna really know for sure whether it was worth it until we see that play out on the field. But as of right now, for me, it's wait and see for Oklahoma. I do think they're a good team this year, but how long is that sustainable? Don't know. We're going to end this thing, unfortunately, with my loss from last night. I had Washington. I'm sorry. I was trying to make a little bit of money. They got beat 2-0 by the Rangers.
At least you took the gamble.
You're right. And we're going to go with a favorite tonight. Or not tonight, but today's bet is the Titans minus 4.5 versus the Seahawks. And here's my explanation behind that. You know, you see that and you're like, wow, that's a pretty good line for the Titans against the defending Super Bowl champions in the Seattle Seahawks. But here's the thing, man. Titans are going to be looking, just like you heard Robert Saleh talk about in that last segment, they're going to be looking to get their starters a lot more work than the Seahawks are going to want to get work for their starters. Like,
yeah,
those dudes just won a Super Bowl. They gel a lot better than the Titans do as a 3-14 team last season. So, but the thing is, that helps out the Titans on Sunday because you're probably not going to see a ton of mainstay guys for Seattle in that conversation and playing on Sunday night. But that game is coming up Sunday night at 7 p.m. That wraps it up for us for the week on the George Plaster Show. Monday, Kelly Holcomb returns, and we'll see you then.
See ya.
Smashville lives here.
Here's a shot, he scores! Still behind the net, a one-timer! Preds score!
Your home for Preds hockey is 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. The director is back. Hello again, everybody. It's the George Plaster Show. Hope you'll join me, Kelly Holcomb, and Billy Derrick Monday through Friday on 94.9 The Fan from 3 to 5 p.m. Talk sports with the Plaz, the George Plaster Show. Weekday afternoons at 3 on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville Sports Network.